Hey there, amplifiers. One of the coolest things you can do when you're out there trying to put your spin on the world, sharing your unique gift, trying to make that impact is to connect with others that have other specialties, other skills, other perspectives, so that you can collaborate and harmonize and amplify your impact. Our guest today is Randy Crabtree. He's a nationally recognized speaker, thought leader. He's been named one of Accounting Today's top 100 most influential people in accounting, both in 2023 and 2024. And Trimer has been recognized by Inc. magazine as one of the fastest growing practice companies in America. Today, we're talking about collaboration, how you can take your visions of saying, hey, I could help more people, but I need to do this by connecting with other people and sharing that vision with them. He's also the host of the annual Bridging the Gap conference and the podcast, The Unique CPA Podcast. Really cool thought leader, and I'm glad to have him here today. We're going to jump into it right now. So, Randy, thanks for being here today.
Kenny, thanks for having me. You are awesome at doing introductions. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being the amplifier that you are in the world. You're helping more people on a daily basis. Right now, you're on tour out there in the field, getting ready to record a masterclass. You're just living the dream and being a true amplifier. So thank you for doing what you do. I give you a brief introduction, but just to give us a backstory, how did you get to where you're at today? What's your kind of journey from where you started to where you're at?
Yeah, I don't know where I am today. I know I'm in San Francisco, so that part I know. So I am a CPA, but that's not how my career started. I started as a computer programmer. I did that for a year. I'm in a hotel where the lights go on and off, as you can just see right now currently. But I started as a computer programmer, realized that wasn't for me, decided to go into sales because that's where the big money was, which is not the greatest way to find a career. It's more about passion these days for me, but I did that and realized I was terrible at it. At least I wasn't passionate about what I was selling. There was no connection there. And then just had this epiphany one day that I should have been a CPA. So quit my job, went back to school full time, got enough hours to take the exam, and then did that. Went out and worked for about 3.5 years for small firms locally in Chicago and started my own firm then part-time in 1988 and full-time in 1990. Ran that until 2006 when I sold my generalist accounting firm. And then a year later started Trimerit, which is, man, it's been a fun run. It's a specialty, talking about collaboration, and we're a specialty tax firm. But what we do is we work with tax advisors all over the country, help them. So we educate them on the incentives available for their clients and do what we can to help them.
That's really a powerful thing. And I know there's other people out there that would love to be able to share their unique gifts with CPAs and accountants. In fact, that's a vision I have for Growth Amplifiers, because we're
Thanks.
marketing and sales optimization specialists. We know CPAs are trying to help people get their financial base in order, reduce their taxes, become more financially profitable. We have the same mission, but we use a different skill set, different knowledge, different expertise. But knowing what you can do and then getting that idea into action are two different things. And how did you go about turning that vision into a reality?
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I saw this opportunity. We started as an R&D tax credit firm solely. And so we branched into other credits and incentives, but it just saw this opportunity, and opportunities are around everybody every day. And you don't have to act on them. Sometimes I have a problem not acting on them. I don't always make the decisions that maybe everybody else would make, but the opportunity was there. And I just saw, hey, this knowledge is needed. Nobody understands what's going on with R&D tax credits. It was fairly new in 2007 from a standpoint that the tax rules changed a handful of years earlier, and people didn't quite understand it. And so just saw this opportunity. I was a CPA. I knew other CPAs. I thought, you know what, if I can bring this expertise, and my partner's an engineer, R&D tax credit is a combination of tax knowledge and engineering knowledge. And so we started this, and going back to your intro and collaboration, pretty much from the beginning, we just said, you know what, rather than us go directly to a manufacturer and say, hey, we can do this credit for you, and then the CPA or the tax advisor, the EA, whoever's doing the work, in my mind would go, why is somebody trying to sell tax services to my client? Which is what I would have thought. We decided, let's go to the CPAs. And I use CPA and the EA tax advisor all generically. The tax advisor is really the way to say it. we decided, let's go to them. Let's educate them. Let's share our knowledge. I think sharing your knowledge is such an important way to get your message out there, to show your passion for something, to show your expertise in something. And so that's what we did. We started from day one educating the profession on R&D tax credits and the opportunity and the benefits. And people saw that we knew what we were talking about, and they just started building relationships with us and sending us to their clients. And so that was the idea. It's evolved. We went a step further a few years in and realized we've built some really good relationships with these firms. And now what we do is we see that these firms are part of associations. Let's see if we can get into the associations, because that reputation is going to spread within that association, and we'll have the opportunity to share our knowledge with others. And so that's really where we started to blossom, when we went from just the one firm to the association of firms to all their clients. And man, it's been an 18-year run, and I have never had so much fun.
What I like about what you're saying there is that it starts with the idea of giving, of sharing, of helping people see things differently. And I know a lot of people are trying to get business, grow their business, and sometimes they've got it backwards. They're like, I want someone to buy my stuff, push my product or service, and that typically can work occasionally, but a lot of times it'll push people away.
Yep.
On the other side of the fence, you're starting with sharing and saying, hey, let me help you see things differently, build trust, build rapport, which is my style as well. And then by doing that, some people say, hey, you know what? That would actually be helpful for me. I also love the idea of you getting involved in the associations and really tapping into them, because when you connect and you build relationships, like you said, that has a wildfire effect of spreading around. And so you also have your own event now in podcasts. Curious to know a little bit more about those and how those play into the bigger picture.
Yeah. So it's interesting. It's like you just said, sharing has always been important to me, and sharing knowledge. And let's see, 6 years ago, and this was in 2019, right about now. So right about 6 years ago now, our marketing department, which was one person at the time, she came to me and said, hey, we're going to start a podcast. I'm like, that sounds great. And you're going to host it. I'm like, no, what are you talking about? I'm not going to host a podcast. I'm not. And then I stopped myself immediately, and I thought, you know what? Let's think this over, because that's been my reaction sometimes too often. Is no, I can't do that. And I'm like, maybe I can do this. So I looked at it, and then going back to this idea of sharing, I'm like, okay, I've met so many cool people in this profession. I saw so many cool firms doing really interesting things, being innovative, doing things different, not following the Sally, same as last year method, but deciding that they're going to do things different, be innovative, be a niche practice, billing processes different, whatever it is. And I thought, okay, I'm not going to talk about R&D tax credits on this podcast, at least not every show. We 250 shows, we talked about it a couple times. And I thought, you know what, let's share. Man, this is the theme, isn't it? Collaboration, sharing. Let's share all the cool things all these other people are doing in the accounting profession or supporting the accounting profession. The goal of the show is there's two things when we record a podcast. You have to share something that's important to the accounting profession, and we have to laugh. If we do those two things, I figure that's a successful show. So we just started sharing stories of other people in the accounting profession, or again, people supporting the accounting profession. And I've learned so much in that. I've probably recorded about 260 episodes now. I've learned so much in that time, and it's just amplified my passion for this profession. And then to go a step further, unless you want to jump in, you can jump in anytime. Right. A step further is, then you asked about the conference. So the conference was built out of the podcast. It actually was considered, and I don't count these as the same, but we did a virtual conference for 2 years. I think it was 21 and 22. Yeah. And it was actually, the first year was called the Unique CPA Virtual Conference. And again, it was that whole same theme. But at that time, I also became very passionate about mental health awareness, both general, but in this profession. And so in 23, we decided, let's turn this into its own thing. It's not the Unique CPA, but it's its own conference, Bridging the Gap. And the overriding theme will always be health, from a physical standpoint, a mental standpoint, but how that interacts with what we're doing in the profession. And so in 23, we started the in-person. We just 3 months ago had our third year of this, and it has taken on a life of its own. It goes back to, again, sharing, helping, finding ways we can be more efficient in the profession, how people are learning how to take vacations during tax season, how they're able to work 35-hour weeks rather than 80-hour weeks, all these cool things people are doing. The conference just, again, go back to sharing it. It shares this knowledge that other people have, and it's been a lot of fun.
I love that. That is really so helpful and so important. I can't tell you how many accountants I connect with, and they're in that profession, and the stress that they endure, the challenges they face, and sometimes you could see it actually taking a toll on their health.
Oh yeah.
You see it them struggling. There has to be a better way. You've got to prioritize putting your oxygen mask on first.
Nice.
So I think that's a really important part. I love the idea of the Unique CPA podcast too. There are so many different ideas, and it's easy to get tunnel vision. We get tunnel vision doing things. Systems are good. Being consistent is good, but sometimes we can block ourselves from seeing things from a different perspective and miss those opportunities. One of the challenges that some of the people that I've connected with have is they maybe start like with a podcast. They have an idea for a podcast. They get inspired. Then they'll record a few episodes and they don't get business quickly. And then they're like, this isn't working. I'm gonna chop this idea and move on to something else. That's the kind of thought that they're having. When you started that podcast, what could you tell people that maybe they're trying to build those relationships, trying to get connected with other people and get some traction with it, but they're not making the traction? What would you tell those people?
And I'm terrible at this from a standpoint that I often don't think about, okay, how am I going to turn this into revenue? And I think not thinking about it is actually the way that it does turn into business. Because if you just concentrate, if I just work so hard to get the message of tax credits and incentives out to somebody, like you said earlier,
Mhm.
I'm just going to be selling the whole time and nobody wants to be sold to. They want to be educated. The podcast is sponsored by Trimerit. We'll talk about Trimerit sponsorship of this, but then we just go into these messages. And if you just talk about things that are going to help the audience at
Mhm.
some level, and if you're passionate about it, that's going to show through. And you just have to be patient with it. If you do those two things, if you're passionate and you're helping, it'll, and not everybody has the luxury of doing that because they're working hard. They're one person shop, a 5-person shop. For me, it was easier. We're about 80 people, so I was able to do that. But we've always been passionate about giving back goodwill to the profession. And that's how we looked at it. Will that work for everybody? No. But if you just concentrate, and if your product is where your passion lies, and people see that coming through, and you're educating on something new every time, can't be the same message all the time. I think it'll happen in the long run. That's how I look at it.
I like the analogy. I think it's an analogy. In James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, he talks about like turning up the degrees. You've got ice, it's 32 degrees, right? So if the room's 28 degrees, you do take a lot of action. You turn it to 29 degrees, raising the temperature. Nothing changes with the ice. You take a lot more action, raises to 30 degrees, a lot more action, 31 degrees. You're like, this isn't working. I'm just going to stop. But what happens when you get to that 32 degrees, right? Now, you have a satisfaction survey that you craft for the profession, and it has some benefits. And that's a cool idea that people can listen to and maybe think of how they can integrate it into their business. Could you tell me more about that satisfaction survey, how it works, and what's involved with it?
Yeah. So so I have a lot of crazy ideas, and I'm lucky that I have people that help implement these ideas. But a few years ago, I wanted to do a survey, and it came out of this passion for avoiding burnout. And so I was like, okay, why do we deal with burnout? It was hard to develop the survey that just specifically around burnout. So what we decided to do is let's see what creates satisfaction levels in the profession. Who's the happiest in the profession? Who's the least happy? What creates the happiness levels? What creates the dissatisfaction levels? And then we could start to lead those positive ones and learn ways to reverse the negative ones. We're in year 2, 2025 is year 2 of the survey. Just as a sneak peek, we haven't released the results officially in 25 yet, but we have seen an uptick in satisfaction levels in the profession overall from about 50 to about 54% this year. So we had a little uptick, which was positive. We have enough survey responses that the statistics are whatever the terminology, but you can rely on the statistics. But things that we found in there that were interesting is that, and this one surprised me a little bit, pay was not a huge impact on satisfaction levels as long as somebody felt that they were in line with their peers. So I don't have to be paid way more than anybody else. But what was more important is the impact that you were delivering with what you're doing, the mix of clients that you're working on. This is one we found out this year is that if you have a niche expertise, which I've always argued that'll impact you from a positive standpoint, because it did with me with the R&D tax credit, cost segregation, and all these things we do. If you could be a niche expert, it's going to increase your satisfaction levels. We've seen a significant bump in satisfaction levels when there's a niche expertise. My passion for mental health awareness and burnout, when there are tools in place to help people that are dealing with all different things, marital issues, mental health issues, physical health issues, all these things. When those tools are in place, it's not enough. You have to destigmatize using those tools, because what we found is that, hey, people say, I've got the greatest HR departments. Whoever says, yeah, we've put all these tools in place. And so our people should be very happy with what we've given them. But then you have your managers and your partners still working 80 hours a week and calling you on the weekends and texting you at 10 o'clock at night. That gives a different message that, okay, we're prioritizing mental health, but you still need to be on 24/7. So what we found is those tools in place is not enough. Destigmatizing, asking for help, destigmatizing, saying, yes, I'm feeling burnt out. That is what made a major impact on satisfaction levels. When people felt uncomfortable asking for help with burnout, satisfaction levels were 14%. When people felt comfortable for asking help and the tools were in place, satisfaction levels went up to nearly 90%. So just that one little thing, showing that it's okay to say, yes, I'm feeling burned out. Yes, I'm struggling with something. Yes, I need help with something, makes a huge difference in satisfaction levels. The other that created super impactful satisfaction levels is when you felt as an employee that you were known to the people you work with other than your job title. People know me as a craft beer enthusiast, a huge basketball fan. People know me as somebody that likes to go hiking. If people know that about you, then satisfaction levels go through the roof.
How important that is. I'll go back to one of the first ones because I think it's a really good point. The marketing advisor, growth coach, helping people identify their gaps and then clear the path to get through them. A few years back, I ran into a CPA who bought a business, thought that was a good idea, but then ran into being overwhelmed, gaining weight, having marital problems. And the big gap that she was having is she felt like she should know better. She knows what she needed to do. She didn't feel like she could ask for help. She thought that was a weakness. Long story short, we talked through that. And then just by working together for a period of time and having a little bit of accountability, a little bit of empathy, helping her see some of the blocks and work through them, she was able to start taking the actions she needed to do to really turn her practice around. And I'm such an advocate for that because I believe that's a huge block a lot of people have. They think, I know what I need to do. I need to be strong. I need to just do it. And it's actually a sign of strength to say, hey, I could actually use some help. I read a quote from Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Professionals have coaches, amateurs do not. And it just mainly points out that all the successful teams, athletes, professionals work with somebody to help them be the best version of themselves. So I appreciate you sharing those ideas and, the importance of really connecting with your team and not just seeing them or treating them as a role is so important. I can be a chatty Cathy with you for hours, but I know you've got this masterclass that you're getting ready to record. I don't know if you want to promote it, but if you wanted to share it, it'd be interesting stuff.
I don't know when it's coming out. Don't know where it is. It's a company called Miles Masterclass. I'm going to be leaving my hotel room in 32 minutes and spending the next 9 hours recording a 1-hour masterclass on the R&D tax credit, which will be a lot of fun. I'm dreading 9 hours. A lot of fun because there's a lot going on with the R&D tax credit right now. It's a subscription service. You'd have to look them up and see. A lot of my friends that I've looked at have done these in the past. And I reached out to them and they said, oh, yeah, we enjoyed it a lot. So I thought, all right, I'll do it. I don't feel prepared, but I tend to be able to talk. So we'll see what happens.
You're a natural. And I know you're a speaker, author, and host of the podcast. Are you currently looking for speaking opportunities or guests for your podcast?
So speaking opportunities for sure. I've been doing a lot more of that. I've been starting to do a lot of keynotes. One of my favorite keynotes is the power of leading with vulnerability. It's okay to admit that you don't have all the answers or you need help. So doing that inside of a lot of firms, at a lot of conferences, but now actually starting to also branch out outside the accounting profession, speaking at some events. So definitely that. I'm always open to guests on the podcast. I get a lot of requests. So there has to be some really interesting uniqueness that I'm going to feel passionate about talking about. And that happens a lot. So don't be afraid to reach out and say, hey, this would be a fun topic. You interested in recording with me?
Yeah, come prepared, bring something unique, something interesting. It sounds like a good idea. If people wanted to learn more about who you are or your business, what you do, where should they go and what should they do?
Yeah. A couple things. Look at our website, which is tri-merit.com. And there's all the information about us there. There's all the events that we host. I'm doing a webinar tomorrow on tax planning for which I'm sure this isn't coming out today, but they're on YouTube as well. Tax planning for 2026. So Tri-Merit is a good spot. There's also the email, just info@trimerit.com, and then LinkedIn. Our marketing department is really good at plastering me all over LinkedIn. So LinkedIn's a good spot. And I usually respond to LinkedIn messages as well. So you can reach out to me there.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Now, you've shared a lot of great insights on this podcast. One of the ways we typically wrap up these sessions is if you could share something that you've learned on your journey that might be helpful for someone on theirs. It could be related to what you do or can be anything related to life. What is floating up now in this moment that you'd care to share?
Follow your passion. I identified as managing partner of Tri-Merit for the first 10 years, even though when I look back, that was not my skill set. So just because you're an entrepreneur and you start a business doesn't mean you have to do everything. Look at the areas that you love doing, concentrate on that. And then there's areas like marketing and growth that Kenny can help you with. Look for that. Look for somebody that's out there that can support you so that you can concentrate on the areas that is going to highlight your passion and your expertise.
That is straightforward, but easily overlooked. We've got to do it all. We've got to fill all those gaps ourselves, but it takes teamwork to make the dream work. And so getting the right people in the right seats, taking the right actions, very important, really cool. I highly appreciate your time. I know you're a very busy guy who's in demand. So I want to go ahead and wrap this up. Amplifiers, remember, opportunity all around you. And it takes sometimes just stepping back, getting a fresh perspective so that you can say, where am I passionate about? Who are the people in my life that maybe I could collaborate with? Randy is a great example of somebody who had a vision. He made pivots and is now stepping into his awesome amplified self. He's been doing it for some time, I should say. But I really appreciate you, Randy. And if you're listening in, just make sure that you don't just listen, you take an action. New actions lead to new results. Thank you so much, Randy. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
To show your support, take a moment to amplify this message by sharing it online. To connect with me or gain more business growth insights, visit www.growthamplifiers.com. Thank you for your support.